Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV, and we're back with an uncensored match build up. I don't know if that's good or not. We'll find out in due course. The last time we saw the Reds, it didn't go so well, but they are back in action against Nottingham Forest. 3 o'clock at Anfield, Saturday afternoon. I'm Steve Hood, joined by Luke Fury and by Chris Coughlin. For this one, we are going to look ahead to the game. Part 1, we're going to have a little look at Nottingham Forest, what they've been up to after the break. We'll talk about Liverpool and some injury news, unfortunately, for the Reds that we're going to have to discuss, and how Arne Slot is going to navigate that over. What is, lads? 7 games in 22 days, Arne Slot said today, and he's got some injuries, so not everything going swimmingly well for the Reds, but we'll touch on that later. And before we get into it very, very quickly, though, as you can see, for those watching, for those listening, this makes no sense, but we've Christmased up the gaff. I'll be honest, we were recording a show that goes out on Christmas Day, so we just left the deckies up. So
why not?
We're in the festive spirit. Yeah, less than 5 weeks now till Christmas. Wearing the jumpers. If you want one, Redmen merch is the place to go. If you want one of the sweaters as well, they're all out for you now. So we're in the festive spirits. Hopefully Liverpool can keep us in that mood come 3 o'clock Saturday. It's interesting, Luke, Forest. I mean, any team who's on their 3rd manager of the season, and we're only in November, probably hasn't had a good start to said season. I think it's fair to say. It feels like Dyche has had enough time now. His feet will be under the table. He's had this break as well to kind of work on a few things. I know he's got some injuries which we'll touch upon, but you'd much rather have been facing Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest than the Sean Dyche one, you'd think. But still, it's a big game for Liverpool, and one against a team at home they should be looking to win.
Yeah, definitely. I think I want to take Liverpool's form sort of. I was talking about this last night. I want to take Liverpool's form sort of from Real Madrid and Villa and try and forget about Man City, because I feel like Man City, you can go away to the Etihad and you could be in the best form of your life and still get beat. That's just sort of how it goes to the top side. So we try and forget about that performance. Liverpool have got 2 good home wins to build on there, and it's really integral that we build on this now, because we're going to a really busy time of the year. Unfortunately, we've got a few injuries that we'll come on to talk about, but the other top sides have got a few injuries in Arsenal, and this could be a real point where we start to chase them down. I mean, if you're onto that Optus supercomputer, I know Chris is a big fan of it, isn't he? We've got the easiest next 8 games according to that out of everybody, and Arsenal have actually got quite a difficult one, so we could possibly try and rein them in, and hopefully come Boxing Day be back in the title fight. But now's the time for it to happen. And coming on to Forest, talking about Forest, they should have never got rid of Nuno, really, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on there. Marinakis seems like an absolute nutcase, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. But they've brought Dyche in. He's sort of a familiar enemy for us, and he's a Red as well, which is I always found mad that he had the Everton job as a Red. And he's probably going to come play a bit of low block, play a bit of anti-football, try and play at the break. And I think he did cause us issues at times, especially at Goodison Park as the Everton manager. And if he's going to turn it into that style of game where it's going to be a bit gritty, it's going to be physical, that we got to get Anfield behind the lads, and that's what will get us over the line. But it's a real integral that we go out there, fight and get ourselves 3 points.
It's interesting, Chris, because I was looking before trying to get a little look at Forest and form and guys and everything like that. They obviously got their first Premier League win for a while under Dyche. It was his first win in the Premier League. He did also win in Europe, of course, but having watched that game back, Leeds were really poor on that, and it was at home, and I don't know how much you can take from it. We're used to playing Sean Dyche teams at Anfield, and actually Liverpool's record against this, for the most part, is pretty good. They'll give it a game, and you're probably not going to ship 5 past them, but Liverpool's record's been pretty good. But what have you made of Forest under Dyche? Because the change from Nuno to Ange and then to Dyche, those players have been through the mill, really. They're so different. I don't know from what I've seen of them quite yet if they've completely got everything that Sean Dyche would want, but there were baby steps in the fact that the draw with United, where they managed to get themselves back in that game, and then they obviously have the win against Leeds. What have you made of them?
From a player's perspective, I honestly don't think that much has changed from a Forest point of view, because if you're that playing squad, you probably just forget Ange ever happened, because Dyche is so much closer to Nuno than what Ange was ever going to be. So if anything, you can't just go, right, let's just forget that month happened. Let's go back to this defensive mode, low block, aggressive. I'll use some Dyche words like the hard yards, working on the grass, that kind of stuff. And I think he suits them in a way that we all kind of thought he'd go in straight after Nuno, really, but America's had that crazy spell, just wanting a different look to it, and obviously it didn't work. the win over Porto in this first game was really impressive because Porto had a brilliant start to the season. The defeat to Bournemouth are a great side. It was a goal direct from a corner and then a 30-yard screamer from Krupi. So, yeah, those things can happen. The United game, again, it's interesting. The United game was pretty much not far off. A 3-4 minute spell where United maybe lost their concentration. Forest scored twice and then ultimately got a 2-2 draw. The Leeds one, I saw a lot of Leeds fans raging after that game. Basically wanting Farke gone at the full-time whistle. Mm-hmm. So I think overall you can say there's been improvement. How much that can be looked at the opposition, I'm not entirely sure. But I think Dyche will look at the people like Milenkovic, like Murillo, and really see him as players that he can really get on board with, I think, to move the team forward. One thing I thought this week as well, we of course didn't see Arne Slot versus Sean Dyche last year, because after that midweek, Everton had beaten Wolves. I'm going to throw out some nerdiness here. Mm-hmm. Everton had beaten Wolves 4-0, and Liverpool obviously just drawn 3-0 at Newcastle, and it was the whole, it's going to be awful weather, long balls, etc. And of course, then the game at Goodison got called off. And then Dyche wasn't in charge for the game at Goodison, the game at Anfield. So that is intriguing in itself, a bit of a subplot. This is actually the first time that Slot will be taking on Sean Dyche. And I just hope that if there's one thing you can label this Liverpool team in recent months, it's not being aggressive in the kind of situations where Sean Dyche's team would thrive. Yeah. And I think that's where Liverpool really have to step up at the weekend. And it's interesting, Luke, as well, because as it stands, Forest are 6th in the league in terms of long balls per game. And bear in mind, they had 7 games in Grange. Yeah. So I saw, and someone, Chris in the chat actually mentioned David Lynch, saw a tweet this morning, 3 of the top 4 games all this season in terms of long ball with Dyche's Forest. Like they've been a direct team. It's what he's come in and that's what he's made them. He's not going to try and play pretty football inside. No, of course he's not. And we have had struggles against that. Like, make no bones about it. Liverpool have struggled when physical games, ball in the air. The last thing Sean Dyche is telling any of his back 4 or his goalkeepers to do is play out. Like they're kicking it long. They're battling for second balls. They're going for set pieces. They're going for corners. They're going for throw-ins and whatever. Yeah, that's a real test for us because City, for example, at times I thought were too physical for Liverpool, and they didn't really go long that often, but when they did, they had success. Forest will do it early and often, and I understand that almost certainly without Chris Wood, from what we're led to believe, it doesn't look like he's going to play, but they're still going to have energetic midfielders powering round, whether it be Taiwo Awoniyi up front, and Hutchinson. It could be that Igor Jesus, won't it? Yeah, or Hutchinson as well, who's played the other day. So they'll have a striker to kick it at and second balls to run off, and Liverpool have to deal with that. Yeah, and I think we spoke before, haven't we, Steve, about like dead balls, sort of long balls. It's always been our weakness this season, and you think back and you think Brentford away we really struggled with it. With sort of the long balls into the box, the long throw-ins. Newcastle away as well, we really struggle with it there. It's something we haven't quite got to grips with, and just as we look like we're turning the corner, something comes and bites us. So this is when we really have to be strong and resilient and sort of adapt our game. What I'm hopeful of is, I know they're going to play long, but they're not going to want a lot of the ball. They're going to kick along. They're going to try and play in the break, the possessions. That's going to be heavily in our favour. I'm just hoping we can create a lot with the ball, because I think when we have had the ball recently, especially at home, we have looked threatening, and I think that's something at times that we have been missing. We have been looking at a team that just wants to play on the break at times, and we spoke about it over the summer. That's what the signings were meant to do. They were meant to make us feel more effective on the counter attack. But when you're playing against the low block and teams who aren't going to commit men forward, that's not always possible. And we need to just look at opening teams up a bit better. And I'm hoping if we're going to have more of the ball, that's going to be the case. However, we can't get caught on the turnover. We really can't. We've got to be careful. It's interesting, Chris, because what they have actually got, Elliot Anderson is having a really good season again. He's a good player. Morgan Gibbs-White started the season really poorly, and maybe the Tottenham thing, and I mean, I'm not saying he got forced by that chairman to sign a contract, but that press conference / announcement video didn't have like a man who was holding up a help me sign at some point. But then, he's now, he scored 3 and 5. Actually, he should have scored 4. He missed a penalty. Then he ingrats. He should have done better there. But he's come back to a bit of form. And I was thinking, they're the type of lads, again, if they go direct or to be fair, that they can easily play through us with that, and they can counter-attack with that midfield as well. They're the kind of lads who, and I mean this in the endearing terms, just rat about second balls. So if there is a scrap in midfield and you want to be first to a ball, Anderson and Gibbs-White in particular are really good at that. And that is something Liverpool are going to have to deal with, because they are 2 very good midfield players. Yeah. Remember the game last year at Anfield? And I know that we're talking back to Nuno here, but that was a game that Slot went on about no matter how many games Liverpool won in a row, that was a game he kept on going on about. And I remember getting there. I commentated on that game last year. I'm commentating on this weekend, so no repeats, please. But I remember getting there, getting the team, and thinking they've got no width here. It was like a midfield block, a midfield diamond, and they said to Liverpool, play wide, and Liverpool didn't really do that. Just continued to try and play through the middle, almost like what was ingrained into us. And of course, there was the side point as well that there was no changes after the international break, which of course there will be because they're being forced to this time. I'd be really intrigued to see if Dyche watches that back at all to try and play with that kind of block, and maybe because the whole point was they brought on Elanga and Hudson-Odoi late on, hit on the counter attack, and it worked to absolute perfection. So I'd like to think Slot's learned from that, given how much he went on about it last year. I think, as you say, Gibbs White, Anderson, they are two that are just in brilliant form. Anderson, you could say, probably is in the form of his life, given the moves he's also being linked to at the moment as well. Newcastle, I know, very much would want him back. But I think it is interesting because of the energy, because of the knock-ons, as you say. There are more ways to play from this Forest team. And I think the thing is with Jesus, I think if Chris Wood was fit, I think he'd be starting this game. But the thing is with Jesus, it's less of a risk because opposition teams know Liverpool will play high. We saw with the Sharda goal, for example. As frustrating as it is, you don't really see Liverpool concede that kind of goal. But if a team gets it right, they'll be in. And I think that's what Forest can maybe look to, depending on a little bit, likes of Ndoye, likes of Hudson-Odoi, Jesus, as I mentioned. And maybe I'm speaking about this just because of the fragility I feel. I know you said about Villa and the Real games, of course, at home. Yeah. But just with how defensively shaky it's felt, maybe that's why I'm approaching a game against a team 19th in the table with a little bit more apprehension.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect to Liverpool at this moment in time, they haven't earned the right for us to be completely confident in them just yet. And that's where we are with them. You are right, though, they'll have pace on the counter as well. Big lad up front, potentially pace on the counter. Now, in terms of, we're going to speak about Liverpool injuries after the break, but Forest are certainly not without injury as well. So Ollie Einer's out for a long time. He's obviously nowhere near back yet. Douglas Luiz is going to be out for this game. It looks like Ollie Zinchenko is going to be out as well. Chris Wood, the same. They're thinking they're probably going to get Hudson-Odoi back.
Does he play though? So where's it? Is Ndoye usually playing on the left? Dan Ndoye.
Yeah, well, he rotates a lot. Yeah, so he that is one thing to do. And Dyche has always done this. He always has like one or two wingers in his team. Like everyone can associate them with being this grok team, but they've always, even under Everton, they had like, you know, a couple of winger here and there. You might be able to get. He loved Dwight McNeil. Yeah, everywhere he went, he tended to take Dwight McNeil with him. So it was Ndoye and Dominguez last game. My guess is if
Dan Ndoye played for Bologna last year at Anfield, and I was really impressed by him. I would have liked them to get him.
He'll probably be on the right, and then you'll probably see Hudson-Odoi if he's fit enough to start. Probably on the left. Gibbs White, then like you said, in behind. Probably Igor. Depends. They might go Taiwo because he is just a grok.
Yeah,
I mean, nice. Like he's a big physical presence.
History. What was it the first when they came up? Winner at City Ground. So but as you say, he'd be the target man, 100% if he wants to go down that route, and Jesus maybe would be the one that would give Konate and Van Dijk a bit more issues in terms of running. But yeah,
I think Igor Jesus can turn it on though. Like I think
he's a good player.
I think Real Betis game, I watched that one when they played away, and he was cracking in that game. He was unbelievable.
And then they've got obviously, I'm guessing it'll be Sangare, wouldn't it, in midfield?
Sangare and Anderson,
and with Gibbs White, a good team. And then I say the two centre halves are good centre. It's a surprise they're down the bottom, really, in terms of the squad they've got. It's just because
a mad month.
Well, the chairman fell out with the manager, who fell out with the sporting director, and then he got the hire wrong, and then they had to change it. So, but we said off here before, I'd be shocked if Forest went down personally.
Yeah.
I think the squad's good enough, and I think this manager will probably keep them up. But hopefully, it isn't at Liverpool's expense. The final one, I suppose, guys. I don't know if it's again. We're not big up Nottingham Forest here, like Liverpool about to play Real Madrid. You know, you've got to put it into context, but. Obviously, they are the team last year. You know, Liverpool taking the Premier League by storm, didn't beat Nottingham Forest.
Only team last year, Salah didn't register a goal contribution.
He didn't get anything against. League, yeah, Salah had not much going against them. And listen, Liverpool towards the end of the season, there were some games where like, who cares? Because the season was over. Like when the season was on and we were playing competitive footy, they lost to Forest. Then obviously, they drew them at their place. Does that play in Liverpool's minds at all, Chris? Or is that was a different team, both of us and them? they've had 2 more managers since. Like it's a different. I don't know if that plays a part, because in our heads it probably does, but I don't know if that affects our players. Maybe conversely, maybe that's something that can give Forest a boost. Certain teams like coming to Anfield, like playing against Liverpool, and they take something from it, like Crystal Palace, for example. And is there a chance Nottingham Forest are feeling those onions as well, for lack of a better phrase?
I think if Liverpool were in unreal form, I don't particularly think so. But because of the way that Forest play, which in a way is what Liverpool have suffered from this year, I think you maybe do think back a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no debate Liverpool will have the majority of possession tomorrow. Forest will drop back, which is exactly the pattern that we saw last year at Anfield, and Forest found a way to come around it. If anything, I'm not saying the squad thing this particularly. Given how much Slot talked about it, I do wonder how much he will be wanting to make a point about this. And he's spoken about low blocks so much and the difficulties and how teams are adapting their style to take on Liverpool in different ways this year. I think this game will mean so much to him to try and get one over on Forest.
I think Josh said it on the air about the City game. Sort of, Guardiola was probably up at night thinking, how am I going to beat Arnie Slot? You know what I mean? Coming into that City game, and Arnie Slot's probably been up at night thinking, right, how am I going to get one over on Forest? You know what I mean? Because, like you said, he went on about it so much.
Their fans were thinking they're in his head, aren't they? He probably was. He was right. He was quite obsessed with it. So, fingers crossed, Arno's got a plan. That is it, pretty much a Forest, unless any you guys were anything else. Massive points. They're a good team. Yeah, I like the 2 centre backs. They're just old school centre halves who kick it, head it, block it, boot it away.
Yeah. It was really fun, actually, because when Murillo cleared one off the line against United, I only saw the highlights on Match of the Day, but when I saw that, I immediately thought back to when they played United last year, when Murillo did the exact same thing at the exact same minute.
Just good to see
he's a class player.
They just stick their head in and get themselves in the way. Yeah. And again, both Murillo and Milenkovic are probably more happier playing dice style football, being stood on the halfway line, or potentially trying to do the Jan stuff. That is for certain. Right then, that is it for part 1. We're going to go to a quick break with news of our upcoming Advent competition. Yeah, absolutely wonderful prizes that you guys can win. Stick around, check it out. After which, we'll be speaking about Liverpool and their numerous injury problems that took us all by surprise at our Slot's press conference earlier today.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. It is that time of year once again. What time of year? Well, it is the great Red Men Plus Advent giveaway time of year. If you head over to redmenplus.com and join or renew or continue to be a Red Men Legend tier subscriber, your name is going in the hat in daily draws in every day up to and including Christmas Day. We've got a range of incredible Liverpool goodies to give away, from pin badges and festive jumpers and books, so many books. We've also got signed football shirts as well. We've got a Champions League final shirt signed by Vladimir Smicer. We've got a Redmen t-shirt signed by Stuart Downing. We have got, for some reason, a 16-17 home shirt signed by Joe Cole and Peter Crouch. Crazy, no idea why, but it can be yours when you join up. And then, of course, we have got the coup de grace. We have got this replica Liverpool shirt signed by Kenny Dalglish and by Bruce Grobbelaar as well. 2 men pivotal to Liverpool's European Cup success in Rome in '84, and that can be yours. That is being drawn on Christmas Day. So yes, every single day in December, get yourself in with a chance of picking up a Boss Liverpool themed goodie to add some extra festive spice this Christmas period. Yes, head to redmenplus.com, sign up as a Legend tier subscriber, and you will be in the draws.
There you go. What a bounty of prizes that is if you want to get involved. Redmenplus.com, join us as a Legend subscriber. Get loads of extra content as Liverpool do go on now and play 7 games in 22 days. We'll have previews, reactions, all kinds around all of them. Josh and Chris with the deep dive, loads and loads of stuff. And like I say, 1 prize every single day in December, culminating in that shirt signed by King Kenny and Bruce Grobbelaar, which is a pretty good prize, if I don't say so myself. Got loads of signed stuff as well. And by the way, we haven't even done November's prize draw yet. That's a pair of gloves signed by Bruce Grobbelaar.
Get on with it.
Honestly, there's absolutely loads. There's so much that you can get involved with. So yeah, thanks for the support, everyone who's subscribed to us so far. You guys are the best. Right then, guys, before we discuss Liverpool, it's worth mentioning the the news from this morning's press conference, I'm sure by now most of us will have watched or listened to Arne speaking, or at least read it on social media. But the big talking points, good news, Alisson Becker back fit and available for selection. The bad news is that now Conor Bradley looks like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, which means he's probably going to miss the next 7 games, which is what Liverpool play in 3 weeks, which is unfortunate. And Florian Wirtz has got a muscle injury as well, although Arne Slot did say that was a more minor issue, so hopefully not too long with him. He also said Andy Robbo missed the game due to personal reasons. I think he might have still been on the piss. So hopefully Andy, but Robbo, he's going to be back today training, so he should be sound. And apparently Joe Gomez missed the game a bit as well, but he's apparently available for selection, although again, Arne Slot did say the likelihood of Joe Gomez playing right back every game for the next 7 games is unlikely, given he hasn't played much football at all this calendar year. So that's where we're at. Starting goal. Let's start with the good news.
Okay.
I don't think Mamardashvili did too much wrong, Luke, but it's a clear, massive boost for Liverpool to have Alisson Becker back. It just is. Like, Mamardashvili is a very good Premier League goalie, and I'm sure he's going to be Liverpool's next goalkeeper, and I'm sure he's going to be absolutely fine and do really well. But Alisson Becker wins your points kind of saves, doesn't he? And it'll be nice to get him back in the goal.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Alisson's fully fit to start, then you just put him straight back in, don't you? Especially Mamardashvili's played, 2 games on the international break. We had that conversation loads when we had Kelleher, didn't we? We were like, Kelleher's good, should we not leave Kelleher in goal? And then Alisson had just come in and just put in an absolute worldly performance. You go, forgot about that fella, forgot how good he is. So he goes straight back in, doesn't he? It's going to be a massive, massive boost to have back. But props to Mamardashvili, man, saving a penalty at City away. He's put in some decent performances. Brentford probably weren't amazing for him, but definitely a learning experience, and someone who's got to go on to definitely start in our goal sooner rather than later, probably a couple of years.
Yeah, so he didn't do too much wrong. What Liverpool should, in theory, be better at, though, Chris, and you kind of mentioned before, is the high line. Like, that is something that Alisson, that sweeper keeper, one-on-one, out of his line. Like, it didn't feel like that was completely natural to Mamardashvili yet, which is absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. That he hasn't played like that at Valencia. He was certainly on his line, a lot of Valencia saving all kinds while they were struggling down the bottom of the league. To come and adapt that maybe took him a bit of time, and it will, but Alisson does provide you a little bit more in that regard, where, yeah, like I mentioned before, if there is a chance of Jesus running through, or Hudson-Odoi, or Gibbs-White, you'd like to feel Alisson probably gives you a better chance of saving it than George did at this point in time. Yeah,
I agree with that. I remember when I was last on, or recently with you and Sam, saying, could there be a chance for Mamardashvili to really stake his claim? And again, he's not done a lot wrong, but you realise the drop-off in terms of just how good Alisson actually is. You mentioned Brentford, Luke.
Yeah.
The abiding memory from Mamardashvili's period in goal, in a negative sense, I guess, was, I mentioned it earlier, the Sharda goal.
Mm-hmm. Running back to his line.
Alisson would have been out. Alisson would have been narrowing that angle, making it difficult for Sharda to choose his finish. Mamardashvili, and to be fair, is actually still straight at Mamardashvili, but he gave Sharda the goal to aim at, and he finishes it. So that's where Alisson is different. That's where Alisson is better. Alisson's distribution, I don't think Mamardashvili's distribution was terrible, but I just think you realised really early on how left-footed he is. Yeah. I think Alisson's got the ability to at least pick passes with both feet when he needs to. Of course, he's right-footed. We all know that. But in terms of how comfortable he is in those different areas, and I think that's where Liverpool will really benefit when he comes back in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes you talk about sort of the spine of the team, don't you? And I think Liverpool's defensive performances, like defensively, the centre-backs have been poor. You can't blame Mamardashvili, but Alisson coming back in definitely gives you that confidence. Yeah. The fellow was getting on the ball quite a lot, and the centre-backs could trust him quite a lot, and he weren't exactly sort of exuderating confidence, wasn't he? You know what I mean? Where you can trust Alisson with that ball, you can give it back to him a bit more, and hopefully that sort of sets the tone and
more
gives them a bit more.
I think, as well.
Yeah, a bit more commanding, and hopefully gives the centre-backs a little bit more confidence.
Absolutely, I'm sure Liverpool will be glad to have him back. We have to talk right back then, because listen, I did.
Do you want to play like
so you probably could just make a separate right back podcast.
Yeah, back in the day I was a right back. Yeah, not now. Unfortunately, I think that ship sailed. I am losing a bit of beef, but I'm not quite in prime shape yet to get up and down that touchline. This is a massive issue, no doubt about it, Luke. You can't sugarcoat it. Liverpool's first 2 right backs are out. In Frimpong and Conor Bradley. Doesn't like either of them are back anytime soon. Therefore, Joe Gomez is the next option. But as Arne Slot said today, like it would be a big risk to think that Joe Gomez can play 7 games. So Liverpool have got some thinking to do. So Gomez, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones was name checked as a possible option. He's done that before, and of course Calvin Ramsey, who came back out the cold to play against Crystal Palace. I'm not quite sure what the manager will do tomorrow. I'm guessing it feels like a Gomez game tomorrow and get the best out of him. And maybe Sobo or Curtis are maybe better suited to Europe in midweek than Gomez. But yeah, either way, this is a massive red flag for Liverpool at the moment. It's a concern, and they're going to have to deal with it because these lads aren't coming back anytime soon. I'm
probably slightly the opposite way on you, to be honest. I think tomorrow, I understand you're saying it could be a Gomez game, it could be a physical game, but I'm also thinking like we're going to have a lot of the ball. Yeah. I'm thinking possibly Jones or Szoboszlai tomorrow, and then I'm thinking long term sort of Gomez. You're looking at like Inter Milan away. You know, they're top of the Serie A. Like that's going to be a really honourable game to go to. A point there would be all right. Gomez sort of keeping solid at the back. Yeah. I'm thinking sort of Tottenham as well is coming up. They're the games where I'd sort of play Gomez, but however, you've got to drill him in some minutes somewhere. Yeah. So he's going to have to play at some point, whether that's PSV midweek, whether that's this weekend, to be one of the two. But I'm thinking more of the ball, it's got to be Jones or Szoboszlai. However, I'd be reluctant to take Szoboszlai out the midfield because he's been running it, he's been the absolute engine. You've then got to stick him at right back. And I probably would have started Jones in the midfield, given everyone was fit. As we know, when Maka comes back from Argentina, sometimes he struggles, he has a bit of a hangover. I think Arne Slot's learned that and he's learned his lesson the last couple of times. However, this is one where Maka's going to have to play because one of them two midfield lads are going to have to play right back. You know, I mean, the outside shout is Wataru Endo. Could Wataru Endo play a full back? Like, he probably could do a job there, but sort of linking the play and bringing the ball forward, he's not going to be Conor Bradley or Jeremy Frimpong, is he? So. No.
I hope not. I hope we're not going to see Endo there. The international thing with Alexis, we might have to tie it all in together because the right back in the field is the good news this time about the international break is Alexis only played 1 game. They played Angola, and that was like a week ago. That was on the 14th, so he'll have had 8 days. So you're all right. Usually he comes back, and actually it was Forest that way last time when he looked knackered, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's the game where there were literally no changes.
And he looked absolutely shat. It was Forest at home rather when Liverpool got beat. That maybe makes it an easy decision. But yeah, it does feel like the midfield is probably going to have to be Gravenberch, McAllister, and then which other of the 2 lads are at right back. If it's going to be Curtis Jones, and that, again, I mean, Rafa Benitez a short blanket there. You know, you pull one blanket from, you take it there, and all of a sudden something else is empty. All of a sudden you're looking at your midfield options going, with Verts out as well, things are a little bit stretched, Chris. So how do you see the manager tackling this tomorrow? And because I take Luke's point completely, I was thinking Gomez from a more physicality, defensive point, but actually, if Liverpool are going to have loads of the ball, you don't really want your right-hand side to be Bukanate, Joe Gomez. Like, I think Gomez is okay on the ball, and he's got pace and will get up and down the flank, but he's not exactly world-class on the ball. You might be better with a Jones or a Sobo, but then you're moving them out of midfield. It's a conundrum.
I'm almost thinking that the only option for tomorrow is Jones, because taking Szoboszlai at that midfield just feels totally insane at the moment. I know. Yeah. I know. If you look at it from an Alexander-Arnold point of view, the way he moved into midfield, effectively became a midfielder, but then the right back area was vacated. And I remember last year the winning goal came down Forest's left wing, Liverpool's right back area, Hudson-Odoi cutting inside and scoring. So I feel like Jones is the logical one. Because it's a fair statement to say Szoboszlai has been Liverpool's player of the season so far. So again, taking him out of that area takes his qualities away from that area as well. And they are qualities that I'm not sure you can supplement by putting Jones in there. Whereas if you put Jones at right back, I think you can still get what you need from your right back and keeping the midfield the same, I think. So that's where I'm coming at it with that for me in terms of Curtis Jones at right back, and I just think it feels like the best option for what Liverpool have at the moment.
Calvin Ramsey's a wild one. Yeah. From what I was told last time, like he played that game against Palace, and like he couldn't play then the next time because he missed the game. He was not even on the squad because
he didn't play from 21, did he? At the weekend?
And everyone thought, whether he's in the team and he's not. He had to recover because it took a lot out of him, which is fair enough. He hadn't played a lot of football, so that feels a wild. Maybe down the line he potentially becomes an option where Liverpool can do some training with him, but that would be a wild one for him to get thrown in. You think
in that Palace game? Do you remember that king of a
Yeah.
pass. he
Made him good. He played well.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But as you say, he's been out for a long time, and his body, just to mention Frimpong, and I know we're tying the midfield in here, apart from the major injury that they had, which wasn't particularly muscle related, but Frimpong and Wirtz in the Bundesliga, they really didn't have that many injury concerns. I just wonder, they've come from the Bundesliga in a dominant team from Leverkusen over to the Premier League, where they've maybe felt the intensity, and maybe their bodies have felt the intensity, and it's been a real culture shock to them. And maybe that, again, there was a report, there was a suggestion in the week about Luis Diaz, what he said over in Bayern Munich behind closed doors about how comfortable he's feeling playing for Bayern. But again, it's just because it's the step down. You're going to get a million chances a game for Bayern, aren't you? You're going to get great chances for Leverkusen, so it's maybe going to take less of a toll on your body. I just wonder if that's what kind of Wirtz and Frimpong are feeling at the moment.
Yeah, maybe some type of adaptation period. Good question actually here from the Invader 978. He said, "Who do you think Salah would want behind him at right back?" And that is a good question.
Yeah, it is.
Because my guess is probably Curtis.
Yeah.
Someone will just give him the ball, because Sobbo will want to do it himself. Gomez probably is more defensive minded. I think if you ask Mo Salah, he'd be happy with Curtis Jones. Just 5-yard passes into him. Right? No one I think plays as many forward passes as Curtis Jones per 90 in terms of what he's been doing so far in the league. Although a lot of that has been in midfield, coming on chasing games, so you'd expect that. But this idea that Curtis Jones just passes backwards and sideways, the stats prove otherwise this year. All he's done is pass forwards. And I do wonder maybe if Salah would prefer Jones, but again, I am speculating a bit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think he will prefer Jones, because in terms of Salah's going to want to get on the ball, he's going to want to get inside the man. Szoboszlai up that right hand side, he's going to be the one who puts him in the box. You know what I mean? Puts on a play for Ekitike, sticks out the back post for Gakpo. He's going to be the one delivering the ball. But I think Jones would complement Salah quite well, actually. So I think that's how it would work. Just to pull it back, Joe Gomez, you're taking away all Salah's defensive responsibilities. Then if you stick Joe Gomez there, you basically...
He's got it anyway, so...
he doesn't do much tracking anyway, but, you're sort of just saying, you go out there and do it, but can he do it on his own up that right-hand side? I think he's just been lacking a yard of pace recently, Salah, and I think, having that support of Jones and knowing he's just going to feed him the chances... I think you're on the right. I think you convinced me.
I was thinking Gomez, but I think I've been persuaded to go Curtis.
I wondered that about Jones as well, because he's not the quickest in the world, so he's not going to be bombarding down.
He's not going to be overlapping every single time, is he?
No.
You know what I mean?
We've made it sound like it's absolutely nailed on, by the way.
It's actually really hardcore.
What he can do as well, he can invert, and he can invert, and it'll be natural for him to go in there. So if you're worried about Forest being narrow, Curtis can absolutely go and get himself involved in there as well, I suppose.
Wouldn't even surprise me if it was a kind of duo of Szoboszlai and Jones throughout the game.
Really, sort of
swapping around and things like that. But I think I knew Bradley wasn't exactly injury free, but I really didn't envisage Liverpool getting into this much of a problem position by mid-November. Really,
I think you can always bank on Conor Bradley being injured. Frimpong's injury is the surprise, because he was so robust. But like you say, new country, things change. Hamstring early on, comes back, goes again. Like that can happen. Yeah, and this isn't the first time, by the way. Liverpool have had right back issues. It happened a few times where Trent would go out and then Conor would go out.
Yeah,
it's the reason we've seen Sobbo. It's the reason we've seen Gerald Kwanzaa play there. It's the reason we've seen Curtis Jones play there. This isn't new. James Milner was there even before. Liverpool tends to have had a lot of right back issues. Tends to happen because Trent wasn't always injury free. Joe Gomez certainly wasn't, and latterly Conor Bradley is definitely a concern for us. Left back's interested. Andy Robbo was first choice left back before the break. Undoubtedly, he was playing. I think he started 4 games on the run. There's obviously only 3 of those at left back, but he did play 4 on the run. He's had an emotional week. Chris, he missed the game training yesterday, but again, I think that he said personal reasons. So hopefully everything's fine with Andy Robbo there. But are we just slotting Robbo back in, especially because if there's so much uncertainty at right back, do you just go for that more banker sure thing on the left hand side?
It probably wouldn't hurt to have a bit of familiarity there.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I'm just trying to think with Luke's head on maybe about looking forward, like who would I start against PSV, for example? Who would I start against West Ham away? I think that's got to come into contention with Robbo when it comes to his legs, for example. Obviously, a lot of minutes for Scotland. Kirkes did get an assist, even though it was all about the finish from Barnabas Varga, by the way. In that Ireland game.
It's mad how some things count as assists.
Yeah.
Put her on a play for him. That's me.
Like Foden for Eze.
I looked at it, it's nothing away from Kirkes, but he puts the ball in, and I looked at it and saw, oh, he's got an assist, and I see the goal, and he's put the cross in. The guy's chested it outside the penalty area and volleyed it into the top corner from 20 yards. But I'm always kind of balancing my opinions on the left-back area, because you can't forget about Kirkes. And long-term, I do think he'd be a very good player for Liverpool. But you have got to think about the here and now. And it's really difficult to say who I think would actually be the best option here, because if you're talking about breaking a low block, Kirkes is maybe the more likely to do the darts and behind, but then we haven't really seen Gakpo use him.
What's ironic,
in
Chris,
that
on
regard.
that, sorry to interrupt, is Robbo's been better attacking than Kirkes.
Yeah.
Which is, you would never have thought. You know, Kirkes and Robbo, they've both been pretty good defensively.
Yeah.
I mean, up and down, I suppose, really. Good moments, bad moments.
Yeah.
Kirkes just does it in a few more mad ways. But actually, in terms of getting forward, Liverpool have always looked a bit more dangerous when it's been Robertson. I think recently, you mentioned before, the Gakpo Kirkes thing, it just hasn't happened yet.
No.
But I go back to it, he's just had 2 big games for Scotland, you know, run until the 98th minute to get them to the World Cup. And then that's on the back of 4 consecutive starts. And now Liverpool are about to play 7 games in 3 weeks, like we just mentioned. We are going to see both of them throughout rest and rotate. It's just what the manager decides is best for Saturday. Because I'm with you, mate, I'm struggling to put me through.
Toss of a coin. Really, I'm not.
I think I'm more one way.
Way.
You know, listen, Robbo's had a tough week. You know, obviously he's played the 2 games. Milo's also played both games. I think he gets subbed off from one of them really late on. So, he pretty much plays the whole of both games. Robbo's had an awful week. You know, he's had a great week in terms of, you know, mentality and results. Whether he's still going to come out on a high, he's definitely been on the aisle one of the nights. You know, 100%.
He's put a lot into it.
He's been quite open about how Jota's affected him, you know, especially in front of the cameras. That takes a lot of courage, that, you know what I mean? Definitely. Everything in your mind's telling you to leave him out and put Milo Kirkes in just for this one. But if I'm totally honest, I think you're right with Robbo. I think you just put him back in, you stick him in, and you just see how he goes, see how much his performance is affected, and then you can have the full week off then. PSV at home, we should be beating PSV at home no matter who plays left back. You give Milo the 90 against PSV, that's more his level at the moment. Yeah. You know what I mean? You'd expect us to have more of the ball against PSV. PSV are going to be open, they're going to try and play us, there's going to be space to create. There's not going to be that much pressure on Milo. Play him there, give him the 90 minutes there, and give Robbo at least the hour here. And you can always bring him off for Milo if he looks like he's flagging, because when he's at them games where he looks like he's flagging, sometimes there's not been that moment where we can go, oh, we can bring him off in recent years. No, we can't. We can take him off, put Milo in, and hopefully he does the job. Yeah,
absolutely makes sense. So we've got our back 4, we've got our midfield now.
Yeah. I think the uncertainty of right back, as you mentioned, Steve.
If Robbo's fit, you play him, mate. It's just whether he is. You know, for a lad who was on the bench for a lot of the time, all going 50-50 split. Even most of last year, going 50-50 with Timmercast up to a point. Mm-hmm. For him then to go 4 starts out of nowhere, and then 2 games, and then come back again. We'll see how he is physically, and that will definitely be a part of the manager's conversation. And then the only other remaining question, and if it even is a question, we know it's going to be Salah, it's going to be Gakpo, obviously with no Vert. Up front's interesting. Luke, I'll start with you. The manager said in his press conference, actually, he would have quite liked Alexander Isak to play more with Sweden. No, Sweden didn't play him, because if he got booked, he'd have been suspended for their upcoming playoff. So completely understand that from Graham Potter. After he got wellied in the first game, didn't he? There was no point picking him in the second, because it was effectively a dead rubber, and that yellow card would really have hurt him. It's one of the few times where you want a player to play international duty. Liverpool have lost Vert and Bradley by playing internationals. They probably would have wanted Isak. Does the manager's comment suggest that he's just going to go back to Hugo Ekitike up front again, and we're going to see Alexander Isak on the bench? Yeah,
you'd imagine so, and I think it'd be ludicrous not to play Hugo Ekitike. I mean, the fella's just had a great international period for France. He's been Liverpool's main man so far this season. I do think at the moment, you know, from the cameos we've seen of Isak does look sharp, you know. He doesn't quite link the play like Hugo Ekitike is at the moment, and that's just going to take time for the adapt to the system. Under more minutes, I'm sure we'll see Isak come to what he was at Newcastle. But I think Hugo Ekitike's got to start. But there's also the possibility of, you know, Hugo Ekitike plays the hour up front, and then you either go like for like, or you put Hugo Ekitike out wide, or you go to the 4-4-2, you know, like we've seen at Frankfurt, and you play them both together. So I think this is the hard part. It's going to be juggling the system. Essentially, Arne Slot's got all these boss players now, and I think what we were trying to do at one point was just try and get them all on the pitch, because they're all boss. And essentially, that isn't the way to do it. And you see the system sort of crumble in that manner. It's got to be a way of finding what works right and how we balance the minutes so everybody's happy.
Do you know, during the international break, it was weird. This has only kind of come to my brain. There was a big discussion, wasn't there? Tape from Tuchel when he was saying about all these players. Like, was it Foden, Bellingham, Kane can't play in the same team, something like that. And then I remember when Southgate got absolutely lambasted for trying to fit everybody into the same team and it just not working. And that's kind of where Slot has had a bit of a downfall this year, maybe. I've said it a few times. I've been really frustrated at how I feel like, despite all the arrivals, there's not been a dedicated plan to say this is how we're going to play despite everybody coming in. And I know the injuries have played a part, but even with injuries, with the teams he's been putting out, there's been sometimes I've looked at it and thinking, I'm not sure what the plan is there, I'm not sure what the plan is there. You go back to Wirtz, he's played about 5 different roles. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but
you're probably not wrong.
He's definitely not played dedicatedly where he would probably want to play the most. So I've said it, I feel like I'm going blue in the face with this, but like, I want to see a plan. I want to see a lineup that tells me that is a plan about how to play against these kinds of teams. The only other thing I know you say, and it probably won't be this, the only thing I thought maybe was if he's going to get Ekitike and Isak in the same team, could it be Ekitike off the left where he did? I only say that because that's where he started the run before his goal the other night for France. But I think when you've got Gakpo there, it really would be strange to not start him. And yeah, I think, look, we're talking as fans here, we've got to be seeing returns from Isak soon. And he's only made 4 Premier League appearances.
Yeah, he hasn't played
fair
a lot.
enough. But, you know, you're talking about getting back up the table while it is still tight. And also, I don't know how much price tags play a part these days, but ultimately we've got to be getting worth for money soon, haven't we?
At some point he has to play, and he'll be Liverpool's number 9. Liverpool didn't buy a £125 million striker to not play. Like, he'll be in the team at some point. It's when that time comes. Like I say, the playing them together thing. When you have 7 games in 3 weeks, they're going to rotate up front, so they're both never going to probably have to be on the pitch at the same time because again,
it is a bit mad, that, isn't it? No, just because, again, two big players, 2 very good players, and to think they'll never be on the pitch at the same time.
There might be certain games like, again, he did it in Europe, didn't he? And the 4-4-2 becomes a potential option. Poor Federico Chiesa never gets a look in here, unfortunately. I'm going to ask you for your score predictions in a moment, guys.
I have to break off, though, at least.
He's Federico, he should be well rested. He'll be hopefully getting some game time at some point down the line. For him anyway, because he actually does deserve it, to be fair. Before we get some predictions, I want to have a quick spin around the Premier League. What else is happening this weekend? If Liverpool were in the title race still, I would have been, maybe, who knows, you decide.
We might be.
You might be.
Let's not see, look to Boxing Day.
It's Schrodinger's title race, it isn't.
Schrodinger's title race.
It probably isn't, but you never know. It might not be dead until you look in the box. City are going to Newcastle on Saturday afternoon, and then Arsenal are hosting Tottenham. Now, Arsenal always beat Tottenham at home, but this Tottenham under Thomas Frank are like the away team. They hate playing at home, they love playing away. They would be games where if Liverpool had beaten Forest, I'd be looking at them going, oh, there might be something there, because they're both tasty games there where, you know, I was trying to think before, like, who are Liverpool's rivals and who should I be talking about? And then it was everyone, because the league's so tight. It probably isn't Arsenal.
No Gabriel either.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how big a part that's going to play.
They're 2 massive games for both. Like, whether, regardless of Liverpool, actually, I would be surprised if both City and Arsenal win both of those games. I would imagine someone, just the Lord averages, that probably someone's going to drop points. It feels like, yeah, whether Liverpool aren't or not is by the by, Luke. It feels like an important weekend in that title race for both those teams.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe us, hopefully.
Hopefully. Gabriel's a dual threat, isn't he, when you think about him? Him coming out of Arteta's basically like Arteta losing a striker off them.
I was about to say, it's like City losing Haaland.
When he's not scoring, he's winning the flick-ons.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be a big loss for them. Yes, last season's drop-off when they lost a centre-back was absolutely huge. This year they've got people who can slot in, Mosquera, Hincapi, they can both play centre-back.
They've got 8 centre-backs.
They're not quite Gabriel.
Hincapi is like a 5th choice centre-half. How?
I know, but they're not quite like, at the presence he has, the fella's absolutely huge.
Well, when you lose, he is the you know, I say captain. I know, obviously, the Gabriel's been he's out, so he is like the leader of the team. is Gabriel, and like I say, he's their best attacking player at this moment in time as well. So they have the best defender and the best threat in the other team's box. That is massive.
Newcastle as well. Moving on to the Newcastle game, they need a couple of points down, and I think they're quite deceiving in the table. Essentially, they've been poor away from home, but at home they haven't actually been too bad. They got beat by us in the last minute. They got beat by Arsenal, and I think the only other game they've lost to St James's was Barcelona. So they've actually been all right, and that'll be R5, freezing cold, dark. Yeah. That's how St James's likes it, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It's funny. I was speaking to a City fan this week, and they said that because of the Gabriel injury, it's like, but they've got Rodri out themselves. Mm-hmm. But there's a bit of a feeling about, because Arsenal's run was it this next week? It's Spurs, Bayern, Chelsea. That's juicy.
Yeah.
So because I know we haven't. You say about title race. I've never discounted Chelsea from all this. I know you might not have enough for the long stretch, but
they're certainly more in it than us at this moment in time.
Yeah, definitely.
So that going to Burnley away isn't a battle of laughs for them either, by the way. They've got Burnley away at 12:30. I can take the last place I'd want to be tomorrow at 12:30. Yeah. Turf more on the G's. That feels like, doesn't feel like a battle of laughs. Everton United will be good on Monday night as well, by the way. Yeah. That feels like a proper Monday night good game.
They've actually got the TV games relatively right, I think.
They've pretty much sorted. They've sorted that one right out. Even Leeds Villa down the line will be a good on Sunday as well. But that is around the league. So I think City will beat Newcastle, and I think Tottenham and Arsenal will be a draw.
I don't think you're a million miles away there. I reckon, if I'm honest, I reckon Arsenal will just get by Tottenham. But I don't know. I think City will have the point. I reckon City, Newcastle will be a draw. There's going to be point stops somewhere.
I'm kind of going along those lines. I think Spurs will probably go into it like with the attitude of we're going to derail our rivals and everything, but Spurs, we all know, they have a tendency to shoot themselves in the foot. So I just think somehow, I feel like Arsenal are going to get over the line there somehow.
I can say what the somehow is. They'll score off a set piece. That's exactly
without Gabriel.
Yeah, it's fucking some other centre half. They got 8 of them. Ben White will flicker onto Nkapia. He'll flicker onto Timber. Who's the other centre half? Saliba will get involved as well. Mosquera back post. 17 centre half. They'll link up and score. They got 1-0. That's how Arsenal are going to win that one. Back to the Reds then. How do we see it going? Do we think they're going to win? Is the first one. My personal opinion is I think it's going to be a bit of a dog of a game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be miserable, weather, cold, chance of like rain and snow, which is being half forecast. But I do think just about get the job done. I'm going to maybe say more than hope to expectation, but I think it'll be okay in the end, Chris.
I think it's a game where there will not be a plethora of chances, and the earlier Liverpool can strike, the better. Because the longer Forest go at it 0-0, we saw it last season. They dig in and dig in and dig in, and there's always an opportunity for a break because then we get frustrated, push forwards, breaks can happen. I'm going to go 2-0, and I really do think it's a case of being clinical tomorrow.
I think, as much as I love Forest, to be honest, I really like the recruitment. I think Arne Slot, I don't know if it's perfect being after the international break. He's been sleeping on this for a good couple of days now, and he hates them. I reckon
he's probably got up in his room, just like the Forest badge.
Yeah, and all like little pins, loads of lines, how he's going to beat them. I reckon he's had more than enough time to draw up a plan for this one, and I'm hoping we're going to see one of them performances that we spoke about at the start of last season where he's made little tweaks, and I'm hoping we go out and we win 3-4-0, to be honest.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Do you think they will?
I think they will. I'm hopeful.
2-0 is what I'm going to say with that. I think 2-0. I think Alisson being back keeps the 0.
The 0 there is the main thing. If we win 1-0, as long as we keep a clean sheet, I'll be happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's how we think it's going to go.
Honestly, if you're watching, please don't put McAllister on Milenkovic. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Someone else on the corner. Absolutely. What are we doing here? It's going to be a fun weekend. If nothing else, can't wait to get involved. We will have a watch along of the game. Obviously, it kicks off at 3:00. We go live an hour and 20 minutes before. So Dan and Errol, it is this week, actually will be live from 20 to 2 here on the YouTube channel. So do check that out. But for now, thanks from me, from Luke, and from Chris. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and hopefully Liverpool can get the job done on Saturday. See you all later.